Hey everybody, and welcome to Business TV. Today with Shaun Conboy, who is basically, has got, well, you can see how grey he is, how old he is. He's got a lifetime's experience of working in the financial sector, and basically Shaun has decided to dedicate a lot of his time towards, basically wills and trusts or something, isn't it? Doing wills, trusts, LPAs and stuff like that.
Yeah, lasting powers of attorney. Yeah, all that sort of interesting, fascinating stuff. The thrilling and exciting world of wills, trusts and lasting powers of attorney.
It really is. But the thing is, I mean, you've done this for a long time, haven't you? You've been in the financial world for a long time, because I remember we met, in 2009.
Wow.
Right. At a we were at a networking event, and basically we bumped into each other, and we hit it off because of the fact we're both ex-military. So how do you go from artillery to doing financial services then?
A long-range sniper. Listen, that is a hell of a question, is that, Gareth? Listen. I'm really sorry. If you can hear me, I'm coming back on.
You will be back on. It's quite apt, actually, because later on we'll be talking about how technologically inept you are.
I'm not. I'm not. I've got dodgy USB, God almighty.
You've got a dodgy USB, everybody.
Brilliant.
Yeah. You want to get that treated.
Yeah. So, listen, I won't bore with all the bloody artillery stuff. So I've been in financial services for over 30 years. I was mainly an investment advisor, pensions, savings, that type of thing, protection. And I sold that business a couple of years ago, and I've got a new business now that I specialize in wills, trusts, powers of attorney. It's not new to me. I have done them for many years. But now that I'm focused on them, they've suddenly become a lot more interesting to me. And I have to kind of catch myself on now and again, really, because I think it's really interesting. But I know for a lot of people, it's boring and it's tedious, and it's something that they almost have to be pushed into getting around to. But people
Shaun, it may be boring and tedious, but it's so important.
Yeah,
it's desperately important. Desperately important.
But any change in your circumstances of life, you really ought to be either redoing a new will, updating the one you've got, or doing one for the very first time.
Yeah.
But human nature, though, is human nature is ridiculous in the fact that we all think it'll never happen to me. I don't have to worry about that until I'm 60, 70, something like that, because I'll be fine until then. And I think that's one of the funny things. It's like people who speed and drive recklessly. They think they'll never crash.
Yeah.
But inevitably they do.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we can be assured you're gonna die.
You can.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things we don't want to think about. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, it is British human nature. But what people are often quite shocked about is when I ask somebody to have a will and say, no, I haven't got a will. And I can tell them for a fact they do have a will, that the government has already written your will. And whether you like it or whether you don't like it, there are laws in place that dictate what happens to your money when you're dead. If you think about it, it's there for a good reason. It prevents people from running off with the money when someone dies. So the protections are there for wives, for children, for that type of thing. But when you write a will, you see, the thing about writing a will is you can never benefit from it. It's not for you. You're going to be dead. It's for your family. It's for the people you care about. Yeah. And the shocking part, I think that people are genuinely shocked about. So a typical scenario, people come together, perhaps on a second time around relationship. They bring their own children with them. They don't get married. They have a full, long life, loving family life together, but they've never been married. One of them dies, the money will pass down their bloodline. It will not go to their partner. It will not go to the other children who they feel are their own children. And that causes immense, unnecessary financial suffering. So they are desperately important.
Yeah, but the thing is that you talked there about the legalities and stuff behind it all, because that's just a bag of worms anyway, isn't it?
It
complex.
It is complex, and I try and make it uncomplex and just simply stick to the realities of that. The law is involved in everything that we do. You know, our society is surrounded by, you know, a legal framework. It applies to the roads, it applies to the tax, it applies to our money, and it applies to us when we die. So the government will always dictate where the money will go, but you've got the opportunity to change that. Say, well, you know what? I think I'll decide where my money goes.
Yeah.
A real big motivator for people is not who gets the money, it's who doesn't get the money.
Yeah.
There's always something they found to say, she's not getting a penny of mine. And you can do that. It's your money. You can decide. But if you don't decide, someone will decide for you. So it's your choice.
Yeah.
It's your choice, really.
There's a lot of horror stories out there, though, isn't there, of people who found themselves in a situation where they haven't got a will or a lasting power of attorney, and they find themselves kind of like, well, I mean, you were telling us a bit earlier about a woman.
In the care home.
The care home woman, the lady with her mother in the care home.
The way to kind of approach this is, so the will is when you're dead. So when you're dead, what happens to your money? But what happens kind of, what can you do whilst you're alive? And lasting powers of attorney, another sort of common term for them is a living will. And this is again a legal structure that says, under certain circumstances in my life, while I'm alive, this is what I would like to happen. And there are two parts. There's a health and welfare lasting power of attorney, and a financial affairs lasting power of attorney. So brief description of that. Less than 2 years ago, some of you will no doubt recall this on the TV, lady in a home in the south of England with dementia. Her daughter is a nurse, her granddaughter is a nurse. They were not happy with the care that she was getting in the home. They turn up at the home, they take her out, they put her in a car and they're taking her home, and that's the end of it. The police stopped them. The care home called the police. The police stopped them. These women were arrested for kidnapping their own mother, their own grandmother. Why? Well, if you think about it, who were these people? The care home, I know they knew they were the daughter, but they could have been the worst daughter in the world. They could have been taking her out of that home so they didn't have to pay the care fees, so they would inherit more. So the law will always step in. As it turns out, that wasn't the case. This was a caring, loving daughter and granddaughter, and it did resolve itself. But what those people had to do, they had to go to court, and they had to become court-appointed deputies through the court of protection.
And the power of attorney would have stopped that, would it, Shaun?
They could have turned up and had that lady, while she was compos mentis, while she had capacity, had she filled out and registered a health and welfare lasting power of attorney, the daughter could have turned up and said, this is what my mum wants, there's my legal document. And although that's a simplistic way of putting it, but in effect, yes, it would have solved all that.
Didn't that happen at the beginning of lockdown?
It pretty much, I think it did.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? I remember it being on the news, I think.
Yeah. And it's not that's an extreme case, but it demonstrates it very well. It puts, when you don't have a power of attorney, as a friend of mine very nicely put it, if you lose your marbles, you want somebody that you know, love and trust to pick them up for you.
That's true.
Yeah. So you want somebody that you know, love and trust who will look after you. Yeah. And if you don't, what happens? The law's got to step in.
But it's funny though, because not only having one, but registering it with the certain people. It's got to be registered with like the bank and stuff like that. And somebody I know recently learned that the hard way, because their father went into a home and basically, because it hadn't been registered with the bank, they found themselves paying for the care fees.
Yep.
Up until they could get it registered with the bank. The bank, I think it took about something like 4 to 6 weeks or something.
Yeah, easily.
You know,
I mean, that's quite quick.
There's more to it than just like doing one.
There is. First of all, you've got to have an understanding of why you should do one, and what would, and it's that difficult conversation really that we've all got to have as we get older. What type of care do we want? Who would we like to make those decisions? And the legal profession, I beg your pardon, the medical profession are in that difficult position. They've got a statutory duty to provide us with care. And that may well mean keeping us alive when we're in a vegetative state, for example. One of the big questions on the health and welfare form is, do you give your attorneys the power to withhold life-sustaining treatment? So that's a massive question, isn't it?
Yeah.
For you to try to face up to now. Well, I'm not sure, but it's just worth discussing. And if you have a feeling on that and a decision on that, well, then you can decide now, and that will save the family who knows what heartache.
Yeah, funny you say about who would you know and trust and like to pick up your marbles.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking now, I'm pretty buggered because I ain't got any friends. I don't do friends.
Right. I was going to say I'm not surprised.
I don't do friends, and
No.
You're
my own
a
miserable
ward of the
self.
state, Gareth. You'd just be a ward of the state.
Oh,
You can appoint. No, you can appoint professionals. So, for instance, normally husbands and wives, partners appoint each other, but we're kind of often of a similar age. What if that person loses it? Who does it then? So there's capacity within the form to have what's called replacement attorneys, like the second team. If the first team don't work, there's a fallback position. So your fallback position may well be a professional, a legal professional, maybe a solicitor, someone like that. But
I wouldn't trust a solicitor with my life.
I know. Well, I'm not sure I would. But what you're going to do? So you pick someone you think is able. Pick someone ideally who will probably outlive you. Is a good idea. Picking the older generation, although they may trust you, could work, but the odds are it won't. So you need to pick younger people.
Yeah.
You need to get some more friends, Gareth. You need to get out more.
Oh no, and I wouldn't trust a solicitor. You know the difference between a dead dog in the street and a dead solicitor, don't you?
I'm sure you're about to tell us.
There are skid marks in front of a dead dog.
Right.
No offense to any solicitors out there.
No.
If you haven't got a sense of humor,
I'm sure there's been none taken.
Yeah.
So if I kind of expand a little bit on the legal framework. So all I'm trying to get clients to do is, number one, just think about it. Some people go, you know what? I'll let it just happen. Fine, it's a free country, do what you wish. But if actually that individual thinks, well, I wouldn't want to put my family through that, and you only need to ask someone who's had to deal with a bereavement where there's no will. And invariably, it was a nightmare. Without a will, if you want to look after someone's estate who's died, who hasn't got a will, then you need letters of administration. I wonder how you get those. You've got to go to court. You've got to apply to the court and say, I'm the person who wants to look after this. And the court will say, well, who are you? Why is it you? What are you going to do with the money? And that you'll be appointed or not appointed. And then when you're appointed, you've then taken on the legal mantle and the legal and personal financial responsibility of disposing of this person's estate. It's
another good reason not to have friends.
Another good reason.
You don't have to have any responsibility.
You don't. Another kind of horror story that just pops into my head about someone who was an executor of a will. So family environment, oldest brother, executor of the will, lots of money. Rest of the family wanted the money now. He said, oh, listen, there's some inheritance tax to pay. There might be, I'm not sure. And they said, it's not a problem. If we need you, we'll all cough up in the end. Anyway, dished out the money to all the families, and lo and behold, a huge tax bill came in that was much larger than expected, and they'd all spent the money. Oh. Now, true story. The registered individual, the executor, was personally, financially responsible for the inheritance tax. Lost his house. The revenue don't give a toss.
Wow.
Who it is. Honestly, that is a true story. I said, what do we care? You're the executor. It's your job to execute this will.
Wow.
So sometimes when you are the executor, it's not a bad idea to say to a solicitor, you do it. Here's some money, you do it.
Yeah.
And pay them, let them have their money and let them take the responsibility. If you want to do it yourself, fine. But I would say, let a solicitor do it.
Yeah. So let's move on slightly, because you've been in business, well, for a long time, self-employed and stuff.
Yep.
And did you go self-employed straight from the army, or did you actually
work?
No.
It's like when you come out of the army, you've got no idea what the hell you're going to do, and you wander around pretty much aimlessly. So I ended up in banking. Literally went for the TSB 30 odd years ago, and I didn't like them as an employer, quite frankly, but the training was great. But that led me on to an opportunity to become an IFA with a company called Frizzell's. And they were superb trainers, and it was a great company and a great employer, and I did quite a few years with them. But the time comes, as a lot of people do through their sort of working lives, they think, I'd like to do this myself, not really knowing what they're taking on. So I've had a limited company for many years, and worked in a very strict regulated environment. Regulations are tough, they're onerous to put up with. They're there for very good reasons. They're there to protect the public. So
if you could go back then, Gareth, to your time, Shaun, to your time in Frizzell's, what kind of advice would you give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Well, I always said that I would laugh more and worry less. But you can say that when you're older, can't you? But during the time, your worries are real worries and have got to be dealt with. So I think I would have stayed employed a bit longer, actually.
Really?
I said, well, I stayed employed. I probably became self-employed too quickly without enough real business experience. I had plenty of financial experience, but there's two separate things here. There's being a financial advisor and actually running a business with all the things that go with running a business that you have to do with.
All the hats.
So, you enter it being a bit naive, really, I think. But experience is a great teacher.
So moving on from that, then what has been your biggest learning experience then? So you say you started being self-employed probably a little bit too early, but what did you learn from it?
I think failure. When you have some serious failings, I don't mean yourself, but business failing, when business doesn't go well or goes badly wrong even, well, what do? Well, lots of people do give up and they go back to the employed role. I didn't do that. I did more than stick it out. I rebuilt, but I absolutely learned from my mistakes, from the failure, and all the books that you read, and so they all say that you'll learn from your failures, and it's hard. It's an easy throwaway sort of phrase, isn't it? You'll learn from your failures, but good grief, it's hard when you're going through it.
Yeah, they say that most of the most successful people in the world have at some point failed
Many times.
And failed, yeah. You look at the Dragons. Peter Jones lived in his car, but he didn't give up. And I think
that's a nice car.
That persistence was what basically gets these people through. And I think sometimes it is a bloody mindedness that you have to have,
it's interesting, is that, Gareth, because what makes you like that? And you say, well, I'm not going to give up, and it's not going to beat me. And maybe that comes from somewhere else when we were younger. Maybe it's army, I don't know. But I did have a slight bloody mindedness. I thought, no, I am not going to back up. This is a good idea. I've just got a few things wrong. And that was many years ago, and I was able to build on that. And I've, if I say so myself, a successful career in financial services. But this is a kind of a new world for me now, and I'm supposed to be retiring, but I'm not the retiring type.
The thing is, people talk about retirement. I don't think I can stop, but I know Gareth wants to retire. He's got a set period. He said, no, right, this is when I'm going to retire. And I'm like, God, I daren't stop. If I stop, then I might stop.
A friend, one of my clients had a great phrase, say, if you rest, you rust.
Yeah.
That was great.
I'm already resting.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm not a hobby guy. I'm useless around the house. I'm a bit of a spare part. So I like this. I like being with you guys. I like meeting people, and I love this. Wills and trusts, they are important.
Yeah.
It just saves a lot of things I'm saving for clients, or saving for the families, quite frankly, adds up in many cases to tens of thousands of pounds, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
People don't realise how much they've got sometimes.
Well, they don't. And the other big issue, of course, is long-term care. So, and care in the community. So if I just do just a couple of minutes on this, perhaps, if you need care in the community, if you need care, the local authorities have got a legal duty to provide that care. They've also got a legal right to ask you for the money. It's a means tested benefit. And if you've got more than 23,500, you're paying for everything. If you got below 17,500, something like that, they pay for everything below. But so that's a really low amount. And there's talk now, they're not talk, it's going to happen. I think it's end of middle of next year. They're going to put a cap. There's this great cap, £86,000, the most you'll ever pay. It's not true. The £86,000 relates to care. It doesn't relate to accommodation. It doesn't relate to food. It will be better, but it won't be what it's been painted up to be.
Oh,
so many. Just goes to show people definitely need to have a conversation with yourself, Shaun, to find out exactly where they are. So one last question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
And this is where we go back to your wonderful technological skills. Your video failing earlier. So do you have any favorite apps, website tools, products that you
I'm gonna show you my favorite app. Here's my favorite app. Which is you're not seeing any more of that. But
how very 1980s.
Yeah, but you know what? And you think it's troglodyte. It's not really. I'm okay with technology. I don't mind at all. I do use it. But with my diary, I can see the working week. My joke is, look, my device is closed, my device is open. And it's as quick as that. And I can see the working week. I know you can see it on the screen as well. I've actually got, this is how sad I am, I've got 30 years worth of diaries.
Really? Wow.
I know, and I just a few weeks ago, I was in my garage, and I looked at what I was doing this week, 25 years ago, and I had 19 face-to-face appointments, and I can tell you exactly. So if I'm ever, accused of a crime, I can probably tell you where I was 25 years ago.
Where were you on the 5th of December,
just hold on a minute.
When you just nipped to my garage,
I'll tell you. I was with Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So. Yeah, that's it. I do use technology, but I like a diary. So
as we can see,
there he goes. That is perfect timing for your technology to fail. It's not.
Look, there you are.
Perfect timing that was for your camera to fail.
Listen, Jane, thank you very much for allowing me to have this little time.
It's been good chat.
I've enjoyed that.
Half hour's just boom, gone.
We must do it again sometime.
Yeah, we must, but we we've got people booked in now and through to February. So
I'm not surprised. No, it's great to chat. It's just nice to chat.
So if anybody does want to come on to Business TV, then basically get in touch, because we'd love to have you on talking about your business.
Good.
We do put it out onto our Facebook group, our LinkedIn. We've got a group and a page, and we've also got, it goes onto our YouTube channel, where we just broke 500 subscribers the other day. I got an email from YouTube saying, congratulations, you've got 500 subscribers. How good is that?
That's great. Well, let's try and big that up.
Anyway,
there endeth today's lesson. I absolve thee from all thy financial sins.
Thank you very much, Shaun.
On that note, thanks, Shaun, and thanks, Gareth, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Thank you. Auf Wiedersehen. Bye-bye.
Bye.